Sol Veta Omnes. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We continue our coverage of Caesar. Things are getting heated in the Roman camps. Sabinus and Cotta can't quite decide how they want to deal with the information that Ambiorix has brought them. Ambiorix has suggested that they leave. All right. Germans are coming, more Gauls are coming to kill them all, and so they should flee while they can. Kata thinks it's a crock, and they should stay and wait for advice or reinforcements from Caesar. Sabinus thinks that they need to run now. Their only hope of survival is in speed. So let's find out whose argument wins. Hac, we pick up in section 30 of book 5. Hac in utramque partem disputatione habita, cum a cato primis coordinibus acrite resisteretur vincite, inquit cita voltis Sabinus, et id clariore voce, ut magna pars militum exaudiret, neque sum, inquit, qui gravissime ex vobis mortis periculo terrear, He sapient, si gravius quid accideret abste rationem repascent, qui si per te liceat perendino die cum proximis Ibernis conjuncti communem cum reliquis bellicasum sustineant, non reiecti et relegati longe ab ceteris aut ferro aut fame interreant. He's very upset, as we can see by clariore voce. So we start with announcement of absolute. With this dispute, with this argument held on either side, right, on each part, so with it kind of going back and forth, while it was being resisted fiercely by Cotta and the first orders, that is, those of the first rank, these were the other centurions, right? So while it was being resisted, weird kind of use of a passive here, while it was being resisted fiercely by them, Sabinus said, Vincite, win, prevail, have it your way, perhaps would be an okay way to translate Vincite, if you want it so. Like if this is what you want, see ita vultis, if you want it so. And he says it in a louder voice so that a great part of the soldiers might hear. So up till now, he's been doing this, they've just been having this kind of, I won't say hushed discussion, but a relatively polite discussion about who should do what they should do. But now he's starting to yell so that people can hear outside of the tents or the headquarters building that they are arguing in, right? So he's going to start playing to the soldiers who previously couldn't hear what was going on. He said, I am not one, neque isum, I am not someone, I guess you could say this, like, it is not I who am more severely afraid or scared by the danger of death. Ex vobis, out of you. So I am not the one from you who is frightened by the danger of death very much, right? So I'm not particularly scared of death. So this isn't why I'm fleeing. I'm not running away because I am scared of the danger of death. These men will understand. These men will get it. And he's perhaps gesturing outside the tent or the headquarters or whatever to soldiers who would be in the rest of the camp, right? These people, these men will get it. They will understand. If something more serious happens, they will demand an explanation from you. So, my suggestion, of course, my idea is wise in both ways, right? Yours has a very negative outcome possibility, And that would demand explanations. And you have to explain to the soldiers why half of them died or are starving to death in the camps, while everyone else is perfectly safe and fine outside. Which, spoilers, is what the next half of the sentence says, right? These men will understand. They will demand an excuse from you. Those who, if it be permitted by you, if it was allowed, basically, if you would allow it, on the following day, having been joined with the nearby camps, they could sustain the common outcome of the war or the common misfortune of war with the others, with the other legions. And they would not die either by sword or by famine, by sword or starvation, rejected and relegated far from the others. So, and again, he says this so the rest of the camp hears him and kind of gets on his side, right? So, because again, Kata's idea is like, look, we run now. If there's nothing to run from, then whatever, right? Then we're fine. If there is something to run from, we will survive it, and we will be able to survive with the rest of our friends, as opposed to alone as kind of outcasts at the far reaches of this area. And if we're like, as we're starving to death from the siege, they will demand an explanation from you about why you decided to stay rather than flee when we had a chance. All right, 31. 30 quite quick, very nice. Consurgiter ex concilio, comprehendunt utrumque et orant, ne sua dissensione ad pertinacia, rem insumum periculum deducant. Facla esse rem, seu maneant, seu proficiscantur, sim modo unum omne sentiant ac probent, contra indissensione nullum se salutem perspicere. So, it is gotten up from the council. Consurgiter ex concilio. Again, Caesar using these passives for just kind of like the general, like kind of a universal action or something. It is gotten up, or kind of they stand up, they get up from the council. They seize each other, they grasp each other. So the idea is kind of like, I think your book suggests it's a handshake. They kind of clasp hands and they beg that they not lead ne suant. So indirect, I would say indirect command off of orant. They beg that they not lead this matter into the greatest danger by their dissension and their stubbornness. So, we're not doing any favors by disagreeing and arguing. We need to make a decision. They also kind of plead or say that the matter, the situation is easy, or the task perhaps is easy, whether they stay or whether they depart, if only everyone agrees on one thing and approves one thing. So as long as we can reach an agreement, whether we stay or go is fine. We just need to agree that we need to stay or go. It's a call for unity. And say, in the contrary, contra, I think here working as an adverb, they say that they see no safety in dissension, no safety in disagreement. So, yeah. If only we could all get along, everything would be so much easier. All right, next sentence. Nice short sentence. Res disputatione ad medium noctem perducitur. The matter, the situation, is led to the middle of the night, ad medium noctem, by this dispute, by this argument. So they're continuing to argue. It's the middle of the night, right? So we're looking at it's like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning or something. Maybe not that late. Maybe it's like 1 or 2. But it is awfully late at night. Finally, Kata, having been, I'll say moved, right? Having been perhaps convinced, gives his hands. And so I think, again, your book suggests that he is offering his hand for a handshake. I kind of like the idea that he's throwing his hands up in disgust, and Seren's like, fine, have it your way, I don't care. But I think it's he gives his hand. He's like, all right, handshake. The opinion of Sabinus wins, prevails. Superat sententia Sabini. Very short sentences. Tandem dat cota promotus manus, superat sententia Sabini. Nice alliteration there. Pronuntiator prima luce iteros. It is announced that at first light, dawn, they will go. Iteros esse, future active infinitive from eo ira, to go. So it is announced to the soldiers that they all will head out at first light. So, you've got 2 or 3 hours to pack all your stuff. And hope you enjoyed sleepless nights. All right. Consumiter vigilis reliqua pars noctis, cum sua quisque miles circumspicerent, quid secum portare possent, quid ex extremento hibernorum relinquere cogeretur. It is consumed by vigils. So what is consumed by vigils? Reliqua pars noctis. The remaining part of the night is consumed in the vigils, is consumed with wakefulness. So they don't get to go to sleep night. Basically, it's kind of like you go to the tent. If they weren't awake by listening to Sabinus and Kata argue, you're definitely awake now, as you've been told, hey, we're leaving in 3 hours. Pack your things. So the remaining part of the night is consumed with wakefulness. While each soldier, quisque miles, looks at his own things. Sua neuter accusative plural here. And we don't have an adjective, so we just kind of supply things, the generic neuter noun thing. So while each soldier is looking at his things and asking himself these indirect questions, he's looking at or considering what he is able to carry with him and what, from the baggage of the camp, he is forced to leave behind. So normally you might have more time to kind of pack up everything and go, but with this, it's kind of a no, take only the bare necessities. We are fleeing. Omnia ex cogitantur, quare nec sine periculum maneatur, et langore militum et vigilis periculum algeatur. All things are considered. So I think people are considering, it's like all the worst case scenarios, I think is the idea here. Like all the things are being considered. Why? And you can get kind of indirect questions about what they're thinking. Why would passive again, right? Mane atur, passive here when it's kind of like this general action. Why would they remain? Literally, why would it be remained? Not without danger, a double negative. So why wouldn't they remain without danger? It is, and the danger is increased, or, why would the danger be increased? By the fatigue of the soldiers and the wakefulness, the staying awake. So it's not going to be good, right? Or theoretically couldn't be good. So there you go. I personally don't like this section. I think I can understand what it's saying, but I can never quite get the grammar to all fit together. So, but I think, again, indirect questions, that's why you have these subjunctives, right? All things are being considered. Why wouldn't they remain without danger? And the danger is increased by the fatigue of the soldiers and the wakefulness. Prima luce sic ex castris proficescuntur, ut quibus esset persuasum non ab oste, sed ab homine amicissimo ambiorige consilium datum, longissimo aguine maximisque impedimentis. Look at all those ablatives. Look at all of these ablatives. Prima luce, at first light, at dawn, They set out from the camps in such a way that, or yeah, in such a way that, I guess you could say like those people were not persuaded, as said persuasive non, they were not persuaded by an enemy, but they were persuaded by a very friendly man, Ambiorix. Or rather, I guess, a plan was given, not by an enemy, but by a very friendly man in Ambiorix. And they set out in a very long train, in a very long kind of column, and with the greatest baggage, with the greatest impediments, right? Luggage. So they apparently they're deciding that they don't want to leave any of the instruments of the camp, any of the kind of baggage of the camp behind. They're going to take it all. Maximis impedimentis. So, let me see. Let me break apart the thing. I think we have a result clause here. They were setting out from the camps in such a way that it had been persuaded to them, or like those who had been persuaded not by, or the plan had been persuaded not by the enemy, but had been given by a good friend. So this is definitely the best idea. Ambiorix is not an enemy. He's a very friendly man. He's done things to help Caesar before. He's clearly doing that again. So good on Ambiorix. All right, let's do one more 32 ad hostes. Postea quam ex nocturno fremitu vigilisque de perfectione eorum senserunt, collocatis insidiis bipertito insilis opportuno, atque occulto loco a millibus passum ciciter duobus Romanorum adventum expectabant. Et cum, se maior pars agminis in magnum convalum de misset, ex utraque parte eus valis subito se ostenderunt, novisi mosque premera et primos prohibera ascensu atque iniquissimo nostris loco proelium commitra coiperunt. Oh, look at that. One sentence. But the enemy. And let's just go punctuation by punctuation. After they sensed, postea quam senserunt, after they sensed, or kind of learned about their setting out, that is, about the setting out of those people that aren't the enemy, right? Eorum refers to somebody who's not the subject. So after the enemy learned about the Romans' departure from the nighttime roaring fremitu, so they hear all the people like yelling and talking and whatever in the camps, and from the vigils, from the wakefulness, right? So fires, more fires than usual, more campfires burning, so that people can see what they're doing. So after they learned about their departure, with ambushes placed, collocatis insidiis, ablative absolute, with ambushes placed in kind of like in two parts, bipertito, in an opportune and hidden location in the forest. So bipertito here, I'm treating more adverbially, kind of in two parts. Prepositional phrase, in the forest, so that's where these traps are hidden. It is also in an opportune and hidden location. Ablative of location. Around 2 miles away, around duobus millibus passum. About 2 miles away, again, ablative of like location, they were expecting or waiting the arrival of the Romans. I feel like you could put a period there. But we don't. We get et. And we get halfway through. And when a greater part of the column, of the army train, had sent itself down, basically had gone down into this great valley, from either side of this valley, utrago parte, right, referring to either side of Eius Vallis, of this valley, which I just mentioned, suddenly the enemy, still our subject, the enemy showed itself And it koiperunt, it began to press the newest. And so what you have here is it began to press the back of the line. Those would be the ones who are the newest entrance into the valley, the most recent entrance into the valley, right? So the front of the line is first, and then the back of the line is going to be the most recent entrance. So they began to press the back of the line, and they began to prohibit the front of the line, the first people, right? They began to prohibit them from an ascent. So they've gone down into the valley. To get up out of the valley, they are preventing them from doing that, right? They prevent them from their ascent, and they began to commit a battle. They began to engage a battle, to fight a battle in a location very hostile, very unfavorable for our men. Iniquissimo loco, ablative, nostris dative here. Dative of reference, I would say. It's very hostile. It's a very unfavorable location for our men. So, oh no, who would have imagined that Ambiorix would have tried to convince the Romans to leave the camp so that he could ambush them? Shockers. Who could have imagined this? Certainly not Sabinus, right? Or Cotta, I guess. Cotta's the one. I always get them confused. Cotta's the one who was like, no, we should stay. And Sabinus was like, no, we should leave. What's the worst that could happen? This is the worst that could happen. All right. Very good. So, I think that will do it for today's video. We'll pick up with the description of the ambush in the next video. But thank you very much for joining me. As always, if you have any questions, post them down below in the comments, hit me up in class, or email me. And with that, I will see you in the next video. Have a great one. Later.